Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Ultimate Comics Spider-Man Volume 2 review. You can definitely pick this up in hardcover. So we have, as always, Brian Michael Bendis writing this book, and we also have three artists doing this comic book, and they are Chris Samney, Sarah Pacelli, and David Marquardt, who are artists in this book. Volume 2 of Ultimate Comics Spider-Man collects issues number 6 to 10, which is the kind of second story arc, I'm assuming, in the Ultimate Comics Spider-Man series right now. So without further ado, let's get into the comic book review and see if Bendis and friends do a good job. So let's start off with a general, plot synopsis. So the comic book, the first issue, starts out with a sort of a story of Uncle Aaron going to Mexico City and trying to, I think, maybe collect some money from the Scorpion, which is basically the appearance of the ultimate version of Scorpion, who seems almost like a Mexican, drug lord, huge giant like slab of meat that is just this huge, indestructible, you know, giant Mexican warlord. So this is kind of an introduction into his character, and while this is happening, we start to get some stories with what Miles is doing. This comic book is split into two parts. We have Uncle Aaron and the Prowler, aka the Prowler, facing off against the Scorpion, and he's kind of going at war with him, and just kind of going back and forth between fights. And then we also have Miles Morales training, and we see him go through the ropes. I think he faces maybe 2 or 3 villains technically in this volume throughout the issues 6 to 10. So it's definitely interesting. The story doesn't give up there. It's definitely interesting. The two main like story elements are really interesting, and then they also bring a lot of themes in. So, back to this synopsis. Uncle Aaron is dealing with essentially dealing with the Scorpion, and Miles has to deal with training, getting to be a better Spider-Man. Also, he's dealing with villains like Omega Red, and also deeper into the final issues of this volume, he starts figures out that Uncle Aaron is the Prowler, and there's a lot of interesting conflicts between those two characters, because Miles is a conflicted character because he does love his uncle, and when he finds out that he's a villain, he's very conflicted, emotionally, and of course he's obligated to, kind of take care of him now that he's become Spider-Man. So let's get into the good and the bad. Start off with the good. Writing. Brian Michael Bendis, he's fantastic writing. Really good. It's definitely the dialogue's great. The storyline, the plot. He writes a really good drama. There's a lot of good action in this. I'm glad he got Miles to do some things because it seems to me that there's a lot of focus on Uncle Aaron in his war against the Scorpion, but they do throw in some really fun storylines with Miles, and it's really nice to see him finally, slowly but surely becoming Spider-Man. And one of the other good points is 2 out of the 3 artists that are in this book are great, and I'm of course talking about Sarah Pacelli and David Marquardt. Their art is great. The number one, if I had to rank it from like number 1, 2, and then 3 of like top 3, number 3 it would be, technically number 2 would be David, and then we would have Sarah's art at number 1 because we've already been used to Sarah's art from the first volume, and honestly, just the way she draws characters' faces and action scenes, it just works perfectly for what Ultimate Spider-Man or Ultimate Comics Spider-Man is doing, and I really really enjoy her art. She's a great artist, probably one of the best female artists in the business, and definitely in the comic book industry. And David Marquez is really good. I definitely enjoy his art. It's actually kind of similar to Sarah's, which keeps the consistency really nice and neat and up in a bow tie. And the only real problem I had with this, the only two bad points I had to give for this volume is it doesn't really seem like it resolves anything. It seems like a setup to the next volume, because I am reading the next volume, volume number 3, and this comic book seems like a follow up, or this volume, volume 2, seems like a setup, which is kind of because the first one was such a nice, neat story, all wrapped up at the very end, and it had a really good ending, and it felt like a complete story. This one feels like a setup. And another problem is the artist Chris Samney, who does the art for issues number 6, 7. Are really, when you're starting off this volume, the art is just not as strong as Sarah's or David's at all. It definitely doesn't fit with the actual what Sarah and David is doing. It's not on the same level, which is unfortunate. And Chris Samney, whatever the fuck his last name is, I'm just gonna call him Chris. Chris has done some really good work with Daredevil, and I wish he actually put that into Ultimate Comics Spider-Man, but it just doesn't show. Unfortunately, it just doesn't show at all, and that's, quite frankly, it's disappointing. It's the first, it's issues 6 and 7, and when you're starting a new story arc, I mean, you need to come in strong. But luckily, at the very end, issue 8 is done by Sarah, and then issue number 9 and 10 are done by David. So that's always that's kind of like a redeeming quality. It picks itself back up, and really that's the only 2 points that are bad about this, But still, the good really outweighs the bad. Not as much, but still the good outweighs the bad. So I'm gonna give Ultimate Comics Spider-Man Volume 2 a 4 out of 5. And I suggest you pick this up because it is unique, different Spider-Man title, and the writing's great. And when Sarah Pichelli is on the art, the art's fantastic. So definitely pick this up. Well, that's it for my review. Make sure to check out my previous review, which is Ultimate Comics Spider-Man Volume 1. So definitely check that out. Also, check out the Comic Time podcast for July 7th, which is the current podcast for this week. Also, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time.